Hi, this is Jewelyn. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my home here in Santa Monica, California, and welcome to a very big Planting with Jewelyn Tradescantia edition. There's so much going on right now, and I don't know if I'm gonna put these into two separate videos to not have a very long video. On this side of the Tiffany blue table, I have a bunch of cuttings that I either want to purge together and fill up one planter instead of having multiples if it's the same plant. There's a bunch of cuttings in water vessels. If you see my plant tour, they've been rooted up for a while now, so this is the day where I want to put them back with the mother plant or put them back in the greenhouse in soil. And there's a bunch of plants that I just need to like go through and either propagate the whole thing because it's looking crazy. That is a characteristic of Tradescantia. Or they're looking not as full, and I'm gonna make some cuttings and try to fix it up. And then I have a bunch of new Tradescantias that I want to put in soil, and a bunch of, there's a lot of things, rooted cuttings that have grew into plants in the greenhouse that I want to fill up the original mother planter with. So there's a lot of things going on with Tradescantias. It's so easy to propagate. Anytime I have a fallout, I will just stick it into a water vessel and I'll just let it root up, and it gives you a whole new plant. So I hope you find this inspiring, and if you ever come across a Tradescantia and you're looking for an easy propagator, I highly suggest this plant. But they do need a lot of TLC. Find a plant to propagate. Tradescantia is the most easiest thing. You can make multiple cuttings off of one trail, root them up in either soil or water, and they're very easy to make multiples of. But if you kind of let them go wild and crazy, you can see over time they're gonna need a big overhaul and a cleanup. How long this is gonna take me. If it does take long, this will be part 1, and then I'll start part 2 after this video, which you will see tomorrow. So I'm just gonna get to it. This is definitely a task that I wanted to do for a while now. So I'm gonna have a seat. This is gonna be my therapeutic moment here, and definitely something I want to do for the collection. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work on everything on this side here, and I'm going to pile them so that I can see how much I have of each plant. And then I'm gonna try to see if I have a planter of the particular Tradescantia that I have here, and then I'm gonna group them up together. And if I feel like they need to go back into a water vessel, then I'm gonna do that as well. Take the time out to stick these cuttings into water if they fall out from the mother plant. Every single cutting is a potential plant. Especially for my rare plants, I definitely am very careful at making sure I save whatever fallouts I have. So I'm just gonna go through really quickly, clean up all of the cuttings, take off the browning leaves, and I'm going to just group them up and then go from there. Something I definitely wanted to do for a while, but as you see, I have so many cuttings, and I'm finally home. I'm home for 8 days, so this is the perfect time for me to do this, and I'm looking forward to seeing more plant babies in the greenhouse. I think what I'm gonna do is, for my Tradescantias that have been rooting up in water, I might put it back in the greenhouse in soil until it gets into a fuller plant, and then I can decide what I want to do. This is one water vessel, all lavender Tradescantia cuttings rooted. So I'm gonna do this as quick as possible, and let's see what I come up with. Another rooted cutting that was growing on my water propagation vessels on the wall. As you see here, look at this. All of this is new growth from being in that water vessel. Sound off in the comments if you collect Tradescantias. Do you find them interesting? Do you propagate from them? When you find one, do you think about propagating it or not? Because I know for me, when I see plants, when I plant shop, I'm always thinking about, can I propagate from this? Can I make more? I look at plants as an investment, and if I can make more babies out of a mother plant, then I will more than likely purchase it over a plant that's hard to propagate. So making little piles here. This is a great cutting here. Take a look at that. So cute. If you watch my studio plant tour, you would have seen these cuttings rooted up in vessels on my windowsill of my kitchen, and I just kind of like forget about them. They do drink up a lot of water, so I make sure before I leave out of town to make sure that they're filled up. How many different piles are we gonna have here? I want to make sure if it's not rooted up that I stick the end in water and get it to root up, or I can just skip that part and put it straight into soil, depending. There's a nice lemon lime cutting. Take a look at that. The lemon lime is such an interesting one. Every single trail is a different shade. It's such a cool Tradescantia. That's actually one of my most popular Tradescantias from all of you guys who have reached out to me for cuttings. This might take a while to do, but I'm gonna try my best to go through everything here. Another way you can grow them is in leca, which I've done before. My grandma has done before for one of my mother plants because it was looking crazy. It's just pretty much your preference on how you want to style them. They do great in leca, they do great in water, they do great in soil. So one thing that does drive me crazy though is the browning leaves. And then sometimes they go crazy like this. So I'm just going to be as quick as I can, and I will blow through the patio after this. Once I go through all of my water vessels, then I can decide what I'm gonna do. Wow, I have a lot of Tradescantia, a lot of lavender Tradescantias here. I could make a full planter off of these little cuttings. Very cool. I will share with you after I go through this my lavender Tradescantia that I moved from water to soil into the greenhouse, and it's a full mother plant now, but I want to put it back with my mother plant to make it full. And this is the perfect time for me to go through the plant just in case it's not doing good. I can catch it and fix it before the cutting dies. I hate to have a potential plant cutting die. Always stresses me out thinking it could have been a whole new plant. Okay. I can't believe it is Leo season and my birthday's coming up, and I usually travel abroad for my birthday, but because everything happening this year, I am not gonna travel abroad. But I'm thinking, and I will make my decision in the next couple of days, of going home to Hawaii to check on my grandma, since she's usually up here in August while I travel. And Hawaii is lifting their 14-day quarantine starting September 1st, and starting September 1st, you can just get a negative COVID test 72 hours prior to your flight and you're good to go. So that is probably what I'm going to do, because I haven't seen my grandma since February and she's usually here by now, but because of COVID, she's still back home in Hawaii. And I just would go home for a week and then come back. So that is probably going to be the plan. And I haven't been home to Hawaii since my grandpa's funeral 2 months ago. And I usually go home every year. So it'll be nice to go home and check on her. Especially since my grandma doesn't drive, I can go and take her around to do errands or whatever she needs to do, doctor's appointments. And also I want to make sure that my grandma is taking care of her health and things of that nature. So we shall see. And I would be filming for both of the channels. Okay, we're getting there. I think we are halfway through. The water vessel cuttings. The small ones that are not ready to be transferred, I'm just gonna put back in these water vessels and then they'll root up. But so far, all of these are ready to move on with plant life here. They're graduating today. Just want to be very careful. You'd be surprised. I have propagated parts of the trail with no leaves and it'll root up and give me leaves. So something to think about. And you have to have a light hand with these because they're very fragile and they'll start falling apart. They're not as hardy as, say, a trailing pothos. Okay, we're doing good. Let's see what we got here. Moving right along. It's so nice to be back home for 8 days. I definitely appreciate it. I miss plant life and I miss the collection. Whatever I do decide to put back in the water vessels, I'm going to clean out my water vessels and put them in with fresh water. This is so cute. Look at this. This is so darling. We're getting somewhere. Slowly but surely. I think when it comes to Tradescantia, you have to have patience. And you also have to have determination to save every single little cutting. Okay, I'm doing good. Let's see what's in this water vessel. Wow. Look at all the water roots of this one. Holy smokes. Let's see what we got. Long overdue. So gorgeous. I'm really stressing out about this one because that mother plant is just like, after a while you just gotta cut off all of the trails and just start all over in that case where it's just looking crazy. And I'm so glad to like sit down and make the time to do little things like this for the collection, especially since I'm gone quite often. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Don't start with the construction. I'm trying to think, where are my mother plants for this particular Tradescantia? It's so pretty. Take a look at the colors. so gorgeous. Wow. And look at all the roots on it. Such an easy plant to root up. Alright, next, slowly making our way here. So what's in here? Only a true crazy plant person would do this for little cuttings. But as you see, all of these has rooted up. So great. Take a look at these fallouts from one of my newest Tradescantias. All rooted up. So I may stick this one in one separate planter and have it live in the greenhouse. I may do that. Oh, we got a lot of lavender Tradescantia cuttings rooted. It does pay off to save every single cutting. There's a cute little lilac. I have much fallouts of that one. It's a fairly new plant to the collection. Very, very cool. Very fun plants to have. This right here is all cuttings from my subscriber from our trade. So all of these are cuttings from a trade I did with my subscriber in Washington. This is her tricolor. And I'm gonna go through each cutting because if some of them are not doing good, it's a perfect time for me to save them. So here's one rooted up. Perfect. Let's make room for this on the side. Very careful because I don't have a mother plant of this plant, so it's so good. Wow, this whole section is rooted. This is great. Okay. Yay. There's still a few that needs to root up, but at least I could go through it and check to see the status of the cutting. Probably put these in a smaller vessel now that I went through it. Okay, that was pretty quick. The worst. Please don't make any more noise. Okay, so I'm gonna transfer these cuttings. These cuttings here has not rooted up, so I'm gonna put them in a smaller water vessel and they're gonna go back in the bathroom. And there is just a few here that have rooted up that I want to already put into soil. Very, very careful. What do I have here? We have more. Do you guys believe it? We have more cuttings. Let's see what's going on here. I have my work cut out for me. but this is, whoa, we have a lot of roots here. Let's go through it. And I hope this construction is not bad next door, because I hate to have it in the background of today's video. There's a Tradescantia that randomly grew out of a planter in the greenhouse that I don't even have. Moses in the cradle. This is from Sonia. And I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna put it into a planter because it's like a little baby plant. It just appeared out of nowhere. Okay. Wow, I didn't know I had so much lavender Tradescantia cuttings. It's a full planter. Very cool. Okay. I got one more water vessel to go through, and then we're gonna go through the other Tradescantias. Yay! Yeah, these are all rooted, ready to go back into soil. And if not, I can clean it up and then put it back into a water vessel. Ooh, this is a nice cutting. Almost done. It's the only one of itself. Okay. There. Okay, so now that I went through all of the cuttings, Alright team, that was fairly quick for the amount of cuttings that I have. Now that I went through all of the cuttings and I have them in all of the same piles, let's move all of these water vessels just on the side. All of the water vessels, take a look at the lavender Tradescantia cuttings. This is like a full plant here. So lots of success here. Yeah, I'm not mad. This is a lot of rooted plant babies here for me. Okay team, I am back. I spent about 20 minutes off camera organizing all of my cuttings that I took out of the water vessels. They're all in here in empty nursery planters, all grouped up. I'm going to plant them up in a second, but first there's two mother plants that I just want to go through because as you see, this mother plant is wild and crazy and I want to fix it up. So I'm just going to go through the plant really quickly, take off all of the browning leaves, and if there's cuttings like this, I'm going to just gang them up. Plant definitely needs a clean up. There's a bunch of loose cuttings, there's a bunch of rooted cuttings, there's a lot going on and I want to take care of this plant definitely, besides the cuttings here that I just went through, because if I don't do this now, then by the time I'm back from Las Vegas, they will be dead, and there goes my opportunity to make new plant babies and save what I can. This is what I wanted to do for the live, but it's okay. So I'm just using one hand to gather the unrooted cuttings that just fall out from this plant, and I'm just gonna stick it in a water vessel. And I would, depending on the status of the plant when I'm done with all of this, I might put the larger trail straight back into soil and have it root that way, and then the smaller ones I will put into water. Look at this gorgeous cutting. So I definitely want to save what I can, clean it up. I've done this before with my other Tradescantia mother plant with my grandma. Now, something like this I can experiment with, and I can clean off all of the browning leaves. I can stick this into water, I can stick this into soil, and it'll probably give me something. So what I'm gonna do is just put it with the group for some motivation. And let's see here. It's another good one too. Okay. It's just not fair for me to plant up my rooted cuttings if I have a mother plant that is not doing good. And this particular Tradescantia is some kind of Zabrina. Just depends on the mother plant. They are kind of all of different shades of purple. It's fairly old. I've had this in the collection for a while. So smaller ones I'll put into water vessels, and then the bigger ones I'm just going to put straight back into soil. I think that is the plan that I have for these. I know if my grandma was here, she would definitely help me with this project. But now, just like sitting next to the rooted cuttings here on the left of me, like these are all fallouts. And just from me saving them and putting them into water vessels, they're rooted up, and it's a whole new plant. Very fun part of plant life, and Tradescantias, very easy propagators. It's the perfect time of day, and just perfect day in general to be out here with the plant babies. This poor mother plant. But I'm not mad at it as long as I do my part by cleaning it up, propagating it. We can start fresh and new. Just grow wild and crazy here. From the looks of it, just from me 40% through the plant here, I might just start fresh all over again, because I don't like the way how this plant is growing. It's bald on the top now. With Tradescantias, it's always good, like if you have it where one side of the plant is always facing the front. Like with any plant, rotate it, and also it gives you a chance to just see the status of the plant. With these, the back side can look a little rough. I remember when I first started my collection in Santa Monica after leaving the Bay. When I was living in the Bay, I wasn't into Tradescantias. When I moved back to Santa Monica, I became attracted to Tradescantias. It's interesting how over time your plant interest will change. You may be into houseplants one year and then the next year not be into houseplants and maybe move on to cacti and succulents, or vice versa. But for me, I like to have a little bit of each. I love cacti, I love succulents, I love houseplants. I wouldn't be able to imagine my life without epiphyllums or ripsalices. Wow, thumbs up the video. I'm pretty fast. My grandma would be proud of me here, going through the whole plant. So I just have the longer trills in my hands, and then the shorter trills like this size I just have on the side, and I'm gonna put them in a water vessel. This poor plant seeing better days, but I'm here to save what I can, which is pretty much everything in here. Cool thing is, this is all new plant babies. Yeah, the browning leaves can get to you. It's hard for me to like not walk past the Tradescantia and not clean it up and clean up the browning leaves. My Tradescantias in the bathroom is doing really good. Is that it? Wow, I went through that quite quickly. Almost there. To do a mixture of both, putting them into a water vessel first to root up if they're smaller, or if they're a little bit longer in length, then I don't mind putting them right into soil to avoid water propagation to soil. One last step. Okay, we're getting there. So nice to hear my fountain. Yay! I want to give a shout out to my grandma because I know that's where I get my fast hands and technique from. Okay, we have lots of options here. Lots of options, lots of possibilities, and honestly, I'm gonna love the look better with me fixing it up than what it was looking like. I think I'm gonna do 3 planters. Small in the water vessel, medium and 1 planter, it's gonna go living in the greenhouse, and large, and that'll live in the greenhouse as well, but the medium one I'm gonna keep to just propagate in the greenhouse, and the large I'll bring it out eventually to live with the collection out here. Okay. there's my bird. Never fails to always make his vocal appearance in the background of my videos. Okay, went through the whole plant, feeling pretty good. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to water this. This is gonna be a very fun experiment. I'm gonna water this and I'm just gonna leave it in the greenhouse and let's see what happens. I'm gonna do that. I might transfer it to a brown planter and then use the white planter for this. That's what I shall do. But everything is in my hand right now. So this is going to be one plant here. And then this is going to be another plant. And then these small cuttings here are going to be in water vessel. So let me get a brown nursery planter. I'm gonna throw this in the greenhouse and water it and see if I'll get a new plant in time. Because the whole root ball is in there and I do see little babies. I'll share with you what I see in here. If you look really good right here, there is a little baby popping out. So I'm just gonna treat this like it is a full lush mother plant and then let's see what happens in the greenhouse. A little fun experiment. Okay, so that was, wow, my whole plant is now cuttings. Isn't that crazy? 1, 2, 3. In me to just go through the whole plant like that. Definitely needed it, and I didn't think twice. I just did it. These are all rooted from the water vessel. Let me know, what do you think about the decision I just made for this mother plant? Just taking it apart and getting cuttings out of it and starting all over again. Would you have done the same thing if your plant wasn't looking the greatest? Or would you have just left it? I just feel like it's my responsibility to try to save it. Yeah, this is one full plant here. Everything for the medium cuttings. Now this is another one, the Fluminesis. This Tradescantia is living in my bathroom and it's looking kind of sad, kind of crazy. I do have a bunch of cuttings that were rooting up in a water vessel here that I want to put back with the mother plant, but I want to clean this up and I will fill up the planter with the new rooted cuttings, and if there's anything I need to propagate, I will. To be able to dedicate one whole video to do plant maintenance like this and propagate. If you hear any kids in the background, it's my neighbors behind my studio, which is interesting because I've never ever heard kids in my backyard ever before. So I don't know if it's an Airbnb and there's kids, a family renting it. It's the first time I've ever heard kids playing in my backyard. Okay, so I'm just going through the plant and pruning off the brown leaves, and that's about it. if there's any fallouts, I'm gonna propagate it. I can always just stick it back in the planter and it'll root up. But definitely want to at least do this here really quickly as I go through each trail. It's one of these plants where you don't know the status of the plant unless you go through each trail to see if it needs saving or fixing up, a little spruce up. Okay, so far so good. There's definitely room to fill up this planter, so part of me wants this Tradescantia in a different planter. I might put it in a plastic planter and save this planter for a house plant. I might do that. I think I'm gonna wrap up the video here, and I'm probably going to make this Tradescantia planting with Jewelyn 3 parts. Just because that did take a while for me to go through all of the water vessels and go through both of my mother plants and decide if I was just gonna make cuttings out of the whole plant and clean up the plant. And I think this is going to be good for part 1. So I made the decision to propagate my Zebrina, one of them. I have different versions of the Zebrina. Depends on your mother plant and your grower. I'm gonna put this in the greenhouse. I'm gonna always make sure that I keep this nice and moist. And let's see what happens. Let me know down in the comments below, do you think this is going to fill up and be a whole new plant? It's just a fun little experiment. And I decided to just clean up this Fluminesis, and I'm going to transplant it in a plastic planter in the next video or the following video after that. And I'm gonna just save this ceramic planter for a house plant, I think is what I'm gonna do. I also want to put the rooted cuttings back with the mother plant too. And then I have smaller cuttings here that I just want to throw into a water vessel. I'm gonna do this for the next video where I plant up all of these rooted cuttings. I cannot believe I have a lot of cuttings that rooted up on me. And it's also a very time-consuming process to put each little trail into soil, or sometimes I like to group them up and then get them into soil and make sure that they're not going to fall out. So stay tuned for tomorrow's video, the next video here on the main channel, where we're going to focus on part 2, planting up all of the cuttings that I went through with propagation. And then once I am done with that, we're going to do a part 3 of planting with Jewelyn Tradescantias, where I have this whole side of my Tiffany blue table and my potting tray filled with more Tradescantias. The whole table is covered with Tradescantia, so there will be a part 3 with new cuttings and plants that I want to just combine. There's a lot going on. I just don't want a very long drawn out video. So before I wrap up today's video, I want to do a plant friend shout out. This one is going to Vanessa. Posted up on my bathroom plant tour. She says here, very, very nice plants. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you're new, welcome to the channel. Subscribe for daily uploads between the main channel Monday to Thursday and the vlog channel Friday to Sunday. You get a video each and every day. Let me know in the comments down below if this video was motivating to you to maybe do this to your Tradescantia, if it was looking a little rough, or just to make more plant babies, or to maybe save the fallouts and propagate them to make new babies. Because as you see, I have a whole new Tradescantia collection alone. Just back tomorrow for part 2, where I plant up all of the cuttings that I just went through. And that was like definitely much needed, because it was time. A lot of them are rooted up in water for a while now, and it was time for me to just go through them. So hope you found this video at least inspiring to watch me go through my cuttings, and I look forward to planting up in soil. These will get planted up in soil in the next video and live in the greenhouse. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I will see you tomorrow. Until next time, aloha from Santa Monica, California. Bye.